Welcome to Build Series Sydney. My name is Danny Clayton, and joining me right now, model and the latest homegrown talent to light up the screens in LA, Maddison Brown. A round of applause.
Thank you. Hi.
Hello, Maddison. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm very good. It's good to have you here. I know that you've been very, very busy, so thank you for making some room in your hectic schedule to jump in the Build studio.
Of course. Happy to be here. Excited to be here.
Now, of course, we've been seeing your face on screens, but predominantly Dynasty.
Yes.
And before we go any further, my producer wants me to ask you, do you call it Dynasty or Dynasty?
Dynasty.
Okay.
I often have this conversation with Australians because they all say dynasty, but I think it's because when we're in high school, we learn about like the Ming dynasty. We say dynasty, and so they all think it's dynasty. But even in like the credits on the show and stuff, it's dynasty.
Yeah, so semantics aside, just throw that away.
Yeah, I don't know if it's like the correct pronunciation or not. It's just, that's just the way it's said. So.
Okay. And it looks like a incredible show to work on. I mean, murder, prestige, just drama. It's quite high stuff now. Yeah. What is it like to film Dynasty?
Well, funny you should ask. General rule of thumb for a lot of film sets is there's a lot of waiting. So it's a very exciting show to be a part of, but at the same time, there's a lot of waiting that happens on film sets, which I think is something not a lot of people would expect. But it's fun. It's a great show to be on. I love working. I love being on the show, and everyone gets along and we have fun, and it's just great. Just an all-round great experience.
So a typical day on set.
I mean, every day is different. Some days you'll be there. It just depends on the schedule, how much you're in an episode. Some days you'll be there 12, 14, 16 hours. Some days you'll be there 6 hours, and that feels like you've barely worked at all because you're like, oh, cool, get to go home while it's still daylight. But yeah, it really does depend on the day and what's written in the script.
And in that downtime in between scenes, are you a book, podcast, or Nintendo Switch kind of girl? What are you doing?
I mean, I loathe to admit this, but I think I'm probably like on Instagram, which is really bad and not something that I'm proud of at all. Just like in my trailer, giving myself like repetitive strain injury, just scrolling.
Yeah, that thumb.
And then, so I downloaded Duolingo on my phone. So I have, like, I always bring books to work with me, but I don't always read them. And so I'm like, if I've got something actually productive to do on my phone, I might do it. And I have been doing a lot of Duolingo.
I like that the other option of like learning your scripts wasn't even a part of the option.
No, well, we all know our lines when we get to work.
Yeah.
Like, well, that's what's the saying? I'm sorry. I'm a little bit jet lagged at the moment.
That's okay.
Forgive me if my brain's a bit slow.
Yeah, that's a given.
That goes without saying. That's what I was looking for. That goes without saying. Knowing your lines when you get to work should hopefully go without saying.
Yeah. Strict professional here. Now, for people who maybe aren't familiar with Dynasty, could you put it in a nutshell for us?
It's soapy. The original was known for the drama and the soapiness and the fashion. Fashion is actually a huge part of our show because it's about a rich family getting away with all sorts of things, sometimes murder, and a lot of drama. And the fashion on the show is probably like it's very iconic.
Yeah, and you of course are the butler's daughter.
I'm the butler's daughter.
Sounds like a Cluedo character to be entirely.
Well, the show maybe the show's a bit like Cluedo.
Well, that's what I thought too.
Okay, there you go.
Now,
never really played Cluedo much growing up.
Would you get along? Would Maddison and Kirby get along, do you think?
I don't think so. I think I'd probably get along more with Fallon.
Okay.
Because she's more, I don't know. Kirby's still cool, but I have this saying whenever I go to a fitting that if Kirby would wear it, Maddison probably wouldn't. So I know, like, if they put something on me and I love it, I just go like, because I know that I love this. I don't know if she would wear it, you know, because we're different.
Fashion is one of your loves.
Yes.
And so when your character is wearing such wild clothes compared to you, and then you see some of these other characters wearing, couture outfits, Gucci,
Chanel and
probably the brands that you love. How does that make you feel?
It's fine, honestly. It's still cool to, see the beautiful clothes all day on set, even if I don't get to wear them. But moving into season 3, my wardrobe's changed significantly since my first episode on season 2. Like season 2 was like cutoffs and fishnets and Doc Martens, and it's evolving. I have Kirby has a vintage Chanel briefcase that Maddison really loves.
How much of that was Maddison compared to the scriptwriters? How much were you knocking on their door going, well, you know what would be really cool on Kirby?
No, it's definitely something that's evolved in the script. Because I was a model, I tend to be I have a bit more autonomy when it comes to that stuff, just because that's what I learned. That was part of good work ethic, was just not having an opinion on those things. So I don't really make too much fuss.
Sure. Now, you did move to LA. How long ago was that?
We actually shoot in Atlanta.
Okay.
So I'm in Atlanta, based in Atlanta. We shoot from July to April.
Okay.
That's a season.
And then where is home?
When I got the show, I was in Sydney. I booked the show off a self-tape. But prior to when I was in... Oh my God, here we go. So when I was 16, when I was 16, I left high school and I was relocated to New York, where I was modeling, and then I booked a film that brought me back to Australia, put me on the acting path again from my childhood. And then I think when I was about 18, I went to LA, lived in LA for a solid year, came back to Sydney, and then when I was in Sydney for another year is when I got Dynasty. So then I went to Atlanta.
Okay. And how did it feel to move overseas at that age? Quite daunting, I'd
At
imagine.
16?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think I look back on it now and I go like, I don't know how I did that. Like to be 16 living in New York on my own was a little crazy. I don't even know if I'd live in New York on my own now. You know what I mean? But it was just, it's what I want. I was in pursuit of a career, so it was just what I wanted to do. And I really, I love being independent and I love a challenge. So I think it just went hand in hand with that.
Is your mum in the crowd?
My mum's in the crowd.
I was
Shout
about to say,
out to Tracy.
Shout out to mum. How does mum feel about all this?
Well, it's funny because I was actually talking about this to someone the other day. I've got 2 older sisters, and my eldest sister and I are very, very similar. Like she actually played basketball for Australia.
Wow.
So she started playing basketball, I think, when she was like 12 or 13, and just was a freak at it, maybe even younger. Very tall, very good at basketball, and very, very driven, hardworking, to the point where she played for the Youth Olympic team when she was 17. Wow. And so we have a very similar approach to things that we want. And I was just saying to someone the other day that I like to say my work ethic is like my superpower, and it always has been. And so when I started modeling when I was 13, it was just like, yep, this is it. It took over everything by the time I was 15. So when I was 16, nothing was going to get in the way of me doing it. And I am very, very driven and very responsible, because I'm like, it serves what I want long term, which is a good career. So at 16, I was very responsible and you know, I was not like a naughty kid by any means. I was like straight A student, did everything by the book. I was petrified of ever doing anything wrong, ever. God forbid, I'm not perfect. But my other sister, Nikki, tended to be a little more of
the naughty
troublemaker. So
she paved the way.
I think if the shoe was on the other foot and it was like Nikki wanting to move to New York at 16 to be a model, my parents probably would have been like, absolutely not, over our dead bodies will that ever happen. But because it was me, I think it was... Am I right by saying this, by the way, Mum? Yeah.
Do you concur,
Thanks,
Mother?
Mum. I forget she's here. She's never here, like listening to me talk. So
thank you, Mum.
I don't have as much creative license today because my mum's actually in the audience. I can't dress things up too much.
So I shouldn't ask you about drugs, sex, and rock and roll.
They would all be no, no, and no.
Okay, definitely nothing
in front
like
of
that.
Mum.
So in New York, I mean, what kind of environment were you living in? Like little apartment? I'm getting a very romantic kind of view of you sitting out the window of a New York apartment, sipping your cup of tea.
Had I had $8,000 to spend on rent a month, maybe that would have been the reality. But I would sort of go Airbnbs or model apartments.
Wow.
So I was always on my own or sort of living in a communal setting with other models, just working.
Wow, that's
it's very
terrifying.
It's not as fun and loose and as what people thought. I was like, I'm just doing my laundry. I'm not going to nightclubs. You know what I mean? Like I'm at home watching the news.
Yeah.
I'm not out partying.
So where is like home to you now?
Sydney.
Like, Sydney?
Sydney, yeah. Sydney will always be home. Sydney is... It's hard to leave. Every time I leave, I don't want to. I get on the plane and I put Finding Nemo on and I cry. I'm like, goodbye.
Yeah. And so it's the beaches, what is the people? What
I really can't. I mean, the people definitely. I think it takes leaving Australia to realise how amazing Australia actually is. We take so much for granted growing up in this country. And I definitely did throughout my teen years. I was always like, New York's the answer. And now I'm like, get me home, get me to Sydney.
Yeah. True, right?
I just love Australia. I don't know. There's just an energy here. I grew up here. It's home. It's always going to be home. Being around other Australians is great. We have a very wonderful lifestyle and happy-go-lucky sort of people. And there's just no place in the world that's like it. Like there's no place in the world you can like go get some lunch and then 10 minutes later be at the beach. Like, yeah, I don't know. There's no place like it.
You're making my heart swell with Aussie pride now. This is really sweet.
Like my heart swells every time I take off on that plane from LA to come home. I'm like a little kid fogging up the window.
Yeah.
Like, are we there yet? Are we there yet? Like, please let me sleep for this whole flight so that when I wake up, we're home.
I predict you're going to be in a Qantas ad at some stage
in your
life.
I hope so.
But, I mean, while we're talking about Australia, Strangerland was, such a beautiful film in the sense that you saw such stark and bleak but beautiful Australian settings. So like the deserts and the storms and really incredible stuff. And this was a film that you starred in with Nicole Kidman. I mean, hello. And Hugo Weaving, which is huge.
Yeah.
Can you go back to that movie? Because that was your debut.
Yeah.
How did you feel being in a film with people like that?
It's not something I ever expected to happen. I don't know. It was just great. The whole experience was wonderful. There's really no other word for it other than wonderful, positive, amazing learning. It changed my life because I was very much modelling at that time, and that put me back on the acting path. I started acting when I was 5 years old, and I did it until I was like 12, and then I started modelling and then went back to acting not long after. And there was never something I expected to happen that quickly and in such a dramatic way. Like it really changed my whole life in very, very quickly. But aside from that, the actual experience of working on that set was wonderful. It was absolutely wonderful. I remember saying to my mum, I had my 17th birthday on set in Broken Hill. And I remember saying to my mum coming home one day from shooting, I was like, I finally understand what it's like to go to work and come home and like what you do. So that's when I was like, okay, this is actually seriously where I want to put my focus.
Because as they say, if you enjoy what you do, you'll never work a day in your life.
Yeah.
And here you are with these huge Hollywood actors, huge stars. Did you get tips? Did you get advice? Did you speak with them?
Again, that autonomous model thing, I think I just like shut my mouth. I was just like, I'll watch and learn and observe. But Nicole was great. I didn't have any scenes with Hugo, but I still spoke to him, and he's a really lovely man. And Nicole's great. Nicole, I played her daughter in the film, and our relation, she had a very nurturing approach to me, which was just lovely.
Of course, because she played your mother.
Yes.
In the film, and you're playing a character called Lily, which I mean, it's quite a complicated film. You're playing a character which is almost an echo of Vladimir's Lolita. You know, you're a 15-year-old girl who seems to be striking out at the world and kind of using her sexuality to get places. Yeah. I mean, it's quite a gritty role for your first time. Did you do a lot of reading? I mean, how did you prepare yourself to play Lily?
I think the one thing that Lily and I had in common was, you know, in her world, she was very unhappy and sort of going through it and figuring out how to get through it. And in that way, it came out like in her sexuality was how she would rebel against whatever circumstances she didn't like and wanted to change. And in my life at the time, you know, as much as I'm very driven and my career becomes my priority, I didn't realize how to balance that out with my happiness as well. I was too young. I was very much like one-track mind with my career. So, you know, being 16, living in New York, I wasn't the happiest kid. Like my friends were at school doing the HSC and I was like, you know, please book me Calvin Klein. You know what I mean? Like it's a really intense world to throw yourself into at such a young age. And I think that looking back, that's the grittiness I was able to bring to the role, is that, you know, I wasn't happy in my circumstances either.
Wow. So what does make you happy?
My dog. My dog and Australia and food.
Okay. Food. What type of food are we talking here?
I mean, all food.
Okay. So when you were looking at your acting career, I mean,
And acting makes me happy too.
Well, there we go. We have seen two very, very different kind of characters.
Yeah.
Or a few with your other shoots as well. Where would you like to go? What kind of roles would you like to play? I don't mean specifically. I mean, what are the kind of characters empowered women characters or evil characters?
I mean, I don't ever say no to any audition that comes across my desk. I say yes to everything. I think everything is worth a go. What's that saying? You miss 100% of the shots you don't take. So I never say no. But one thing that I've really enjoyed about being on Dynasty has been the more comedic side of the show. Okay. I'm really enjoying playing with the comedy of it, and I would love to do a fun comedy film one day. I think that would be with anyone that would like to be in a comedy film with me. You know, I love Will Ferrell. I love Seth Rogen. Judd Apatow's films are hilarious. Oh my God. Bridesmaids. Have I not already brought this up? Bridesmaids is my favorite film of all time ever. I think I've seen that movie, I'm really not kidding, 50 or 60 times. Like, I watch it weekly, and if I haven't watched it in a couple of weeks, like I haven't watched it in a couple of weeks, I'm just realizing now as I'm saying it, so I have to watch it now and refresh.
It's your comfort movie.
Yes, it's the best movie. It's one of the best movies of all time, I think. And so I would love to be in a film like that with like Kristen Wiig, Maya Rudolph, Rose Byrne. I love Rose Byrne. She's amazing.
Now, it seems like it's a chick flick. I mean, I love that film, but it seems like a lot of my girlfriends all feel like they can relate to one of the characters more than the other. I
don't even know if I can relate to any of them really at all. I just think it's an incredible film. Like, it's a masterpiece. Like, if you think about it, it's an original story. It won an Oscar. It was at least nominated for Best Original Screenplay. And it's a comedy film chick flick, and it was nominated for an Oscar. Yeah. That's epic. Like, it's one of the best films ever. You really can't, like, I watch scenes, I really can't fault any of it. Like, there's not a single scene that I watch and go, maybe they could have done this better. Like, every scene is kind of flawless.
It's actually
and the
really
comedy's
nice
perfect.
You get this excited about this film.
It's such a great
like
film.
bubbling.
Everyone go home and watch it. You'll see what I'm talking about. It's the best film. And everyone watching, go home and watch it.
Okay, let's say the film had never been made and was being shot tomorrow, and you get to play one character. Who do you get to play?
Oh my God.
Big question. I can see it's really weighing on you.
Who would I want to play? I don't know. I wouldn't change any of it. And maybe like a store clerk, just to not.
No, but you get to take. Come on, you get to take any of the roles.
No, I wouldn't want to. That's what I'm saying. I wouldn't change anything about it. Maybe like, so my castmate Liz she was on a show with an actor named Matt Bennett, and they grew up on a show together called Victorious. And before he did Victorious, he played Helen's, which is Rose Byrne's character. She played his stepson. He played her stepson. Oh my God, my English. He played her stepson, and he has a line, and he goes up to them when they're playing tennis, and Helen's like, do you guys want any money for snacks? I'm really going down the rabbit hole here. I'm so sorry. I know we only have half an hour. But he has the one line where he says, I'm not going to swear because I'm a good girl, but he says, F off Helen. And that's maybe, sorry, Matt, if he ever watches this, he's going to be like, no. But maybe that's because it wouldn't change.
Where's Matt now after that?
He's in LA. He's probably, I would never, Matt, you did a great job. I'm not saying you didn't. It's just like, if I was going to do anything, that's a really funny one-liner without having too much pressure on me to change the amazingness of the film.
Okay, so like Shawshank Redemption, then like Bridesmaids.
They're totally different though. Apples and oranges. Yeah. Can't compare. Shawshank Redemption, also great. Bridesmaids just personally
way better.
No, it's just one of my favourite films.
But I did want to bring things back to fashion, because this is something that is, your passion. You've obviously been working in the fashion industry for so long. And, of course, you're a guest. Congratulations as the guest of Vogue.
Vogue American Express Fashion Night Out.
Yeah, a little round of applause. Come on. This is
Thank you.
They
brought me home.
To work for a brand like Vogue, considering that you've spent so much of your life working in this industry? I mean, that must be a big deal.
Well, working with the Vogue Australia team, I've been in this industry in Australia since I was 13. And so a lot of them I've known and have been working with since I was 15, 16. So it just kind of feels like seeing friends. But they're just great. I mean, it's Vogue. It's always in Vogue. It's Vogue. Yeah. But I was able to spend a bit of time with Edwina McCann last night, who's editor-in-chief, who I hadn't spent much time with before because I always sort of had things to do with the fashion side of the magazine. And all of those stylists that work for Vogue also do other jobs outside of Vogue styling, and that's when I would meet a lot of them. But Edwina's lovely. So lovely. Like, such a legend. I don't know if I can say that about the editor-in-chief of Vogue Australia, but she's really, really was really cool.
Yeah. So I'd imagine that as a model, Vogue is one of those top tier partnerships that you would want to work with. Yeah. Is there someone else that you'd think, all right, my career as a model is doing really bloody well if I can work with these people?
I always from when I started modelling was like, I want to work with Steven Meisel. That was always my pinnacle number one, want to work with Steven Meisel. And then I did. I did a Miu Miu campaign and he shot it.
Wow, fantastic.
And that was the pinch me moment for 3 whole days and we were shooting it. I was like, can't believe I'm actually working with Steven Meisel because he's like legend status.
Yeah. And when it comes to other people in your field, who do you look up to as a model?
I mean, the modelling industry has changed so much now. It's sort of like, it's a lot of Instagram. Instagram is kind of the ruler of the roost right now when it comes to those. If you have a lot of Instagram followers, you've got a better chance of working. So I don't know, definitely when I came into the industry, which is 9 years ago now, like Gemma Ward was the penultimate supermodel that I really looked up to. And Miranda Kerr, I was absolutely obsessed with Miranda Kerr. I remember I did this interview for the Sunday Telegraph or something, and my mum keeps all my everything I've ever done. There's like a cupboard in the study with all the press I've ever done. There's this one line where I say, so if I'm not even going to try and say that word because I'm jet lagged, it's not going to come out right. But it was just so effusive. The line was, every girl in Australia wants to be Miranda Kerr. Every girl looks up to her. I know. Like I was so in love with Miranda Kerr that I was convinced everyone else wanted to be Miranda Kerr just as much as I did.
Yeah.
And I said that in an interview and I was like 13, like every girl wants to be Miranda Kerr. I know. Every girl in Australia.
Probably accurate, you know?
So Miranda was like, and she was also with my agency when I signed with them. So I was just like, oh my God, Miranda, like the biggest fangirl for Miranda that you could have ever found.
Did you ever meet Miranda Kerr? Oh, go ahead. How did that go down?
I did David Jones with her on her last David Jones parade with them. So It was like after that show, they parted ways professionally. And so that was the last thing she ever did with them. And I was there.
Wow.
I was there.
I would imagine that.
I had a photo with her backstage and I was like one of the backstage photographers. I was like, okay, now Ken. His name's Ken. I was like, Ken, I need a photo because she would only come out like, she had her own green room and big star Miranda Kerr. Hello. She wasn't blending with us peasant models. And I said, okay, Ken, like one of the looks was, like the running order was Miranda and then me for one of the sections of the show. So I was behind her in the lineup and I was like, all right, Ken, game plan. Like when she gets here, we've got to get a photo with Miranda. And we did. And so I took a photo of his camera with my phone and put it straight on Facebook. It was my Facebook profile picture for like a really long time. Just me in this terrible, grainy, like I don't look good at all. And I'm standing next to Miranda Kerr in like my weird David Jones. It was like a Colette Dinnigan knitted sweatshirt, knitted skirt. Like it was very like, you know, I was 15. Like 15-year-olds weren't wearing that, you know. Yeah. And it was my Facebook profile picture because it was Miranda Kerr, and that was that.
Did you get any words out? Did you get to say anything
to Miranda?
Yeah.
No, this was me, Miranda, and that was it.
Well, that actually sounds quite spectacular, and almost like walking out on stage if you're a guitarist and playing with the Rolling Stones, you know. So I can understand that you're a little bit frightened, but congratulations for meeting your hero. Now we do have some Q&A questions coming in.
Okay, cool.
What's your feeling on Kirby Cullen romance?
Oh, the Culhane romance.
Yeah.
Well, the guy who plays Culhane, Rob, he's great, and so we had a lot of fun together. That whole storyline, it came a bit out of left field, but it was still fun. You know, it's Dynasty. Anything can happen on Dynasty, and it finds a way to work.
Yeah, Cluedo.
Yeah, Cluedo.
Is there anyone on stage on set that you get along with the most? On that note,
I mean, I think it's no secret that Liz and I are quite good friends. Liz, who plays Fallon, we have we have a lot of fun together. And also Adam Hoover, who plays Liam, who I know all the girls love. He's just as nice as he is good looking. So that's always good.
Fantastic. Yeah. What's your relationship like? What is your relationship like with other Aussies on Dynasty? Alan Dale and Nat Kelly, etc.
Well, Nat was only in season 1 and I came on in season 2. So we never met through work, but I have met her since, and she's just a lot of fun. I think anyone that's ever been within a 5-mile radius of Nat Kelly would say that she's a lot of fun. And Alan, who plays my father, is an angel straight from heaven. There's really no other way to put it.
Yep. What's in store for season 3 for Kirby and her love interest?
Guess what? I'm not going to answer that question.
I didn't think you were.
Because it's supposed to be a secret.
Okay. You're just going to have to guess.
Yeah. October 11 it comes out. So
what can you share? Is there anything that you're allowed to pepper us with?
Well, I don't, because we're in like episode 7 now, I have forgotten what you guys know and don't know, so I'm just going to skip that one too, just for safety.
Dance around it. That's definitely very good. What's your star sign and your ascendant? Okay. I'm assuming that is from Charlotte.
Hi.
What is your star sign and for me, what's an ascendant?
You'll have to Google that on your own time because we only have 30 minutes.
Okay.
But
why is it going to take more than 30 minutes?
I don't want to, there's a very clear, concise definition somewhere on Google just waiting for you to read it. But I'm a Taurus sun, Scorpio moon, Virgo rising.
Wow. Okay.
What's your star sign? I'm
a Taurus.
Really? What's up?
I don't know. Do we get along? Are we good friends or?
Yeah. Taurus.
Sure. Yeah. What does that all mean for your personality, though? To the layman.
Well, Taurians are very stubborn.
Okay.
Very stubborn and blunt. Like, I don't know how to sort of...
No, we're not.
Yeah, exactly.
So that was just a joke.
Just a couple of Taurians up here having a joke.
How dare you say that?
Sorry,
to
guys.
a guest.
Any other Taurus in the audience? See, none of you are on our level. You just don't get it. Taurian's very stubborn. My dad's a Taurus. Okay. Very stubborn. You know how you feel about something. Wear our heart on our sleeve. You always know where you stand. But also like homebodies. Yeah. Okay. Love a nest, love an investment piece, like your RMs.
I do love my RMs, but so do you apparently. So this is something that you seem quite interested in. How long ago did you take a fascination to star signs and whatnot? You don't know?
I don't even know. It's just something, maybe when I was like 15, I had Tumblr and everyone was talking about star signs and I was like, what's this? Everyone would like post like links to cafe astrology and like get your birth chart, and I had no idea what any of it meant. And then I had a friend of mine in LA whose older sister was really into it, and I think that's sort of when I started asking more questions and wondering what it all meant.
Sure.
Maybe it means nothing and I'm wasting all of my time, and I'm fully prepared that that's a reality.
It's certainly entertaining, I'll say that much. And besides this, do you think there are any other skills or tricks that you have that might surprise us?
I don't think so. I'm sorry. I'm a bit boring.
So far I've been very, very impressed. Does anyone else think that she's boring? No, definitely not.
They all have a group chat going in secret and they're like, this bitch needs to get off the stage. No, I don't know. My work ethic is my superpower, and I know people's star signs, and that's me in a nutshell.
Okay, so I'm going to make a prediction, and because it's being recorded, it means I can drag this footage up in another 10 years' time.
Okay.
I actually foresee you becoming one of Australia's great exports, and I think that you'll be starring in films that are sent all around the world. So I've got that on camera.
Do you know any studio execs? You can also pass that information on to them.
Plenty.
Help me out a bit.
I'll pass them on their way. But before I do let you go, where would you like to be in the next 3 years? What kind of movies? What kind of shows? What are the ambitious Maddison Brown? Where will we see you?
I don't know. It really, each project is different. And when it, I don't know, just working on something that I love. And, happy in my career, happy in my personal life, maybe with another dog. Really had to hold myself back from getting another dog, but maybe with another dog. And hopefully spending, more time in Australia than I am currently.
Fantastic. Well, congratulations on a sterling job on Dynasty.
Thank you.
We wish Kirby good luck We hope that she survives. But round of applause for Maddison Brown. This has been Build Series Sydney.